Yo, what's up guys? It's Noah here, and in today's video, going to be breaking down the NBA slate on Draftkings for Friday, March the 24th. Now, we got a big Friday night slate tonight, 10 games, a lot of questionable tags as well, a lot of injuries we're going to have to keep an eye on. So, I'm going to try and do my best to give you guys kind of an early preview of this slate, recording this video on Thursday night, but I feel like this is going to be one of those days where we're definitely going to have to watch the injury report. There's going to be a lot of guys probably that maybe don't wind up playing today. We'll have to see. There's some teams on back-to-backs as well. But yeah, 10 game slate. We're going to go game by game, give you kind of a quick breakdown of this 10 gamer. Before we do get started though, guys, as always, make sure you hit that like button down below, hit that subscribe button if you have not yet. And if you guys are new to the channel and if you've never checked out PrizePicks before, PrizePicks is the sponsor of this video. You guys can actually sign up for PrizePicks. You can use my promo code Noah. When you do sign up, you'll get your first deposit matched up to $100 when you sign up with my promo code. So check out PrizePicks. If you have not yet, use that code when you sign up and get your deposit bonus when you do. And as always, I should have a PrizePicks video posted for today. That'll probably go up sometime later on, kind of early Friday morning, Friday afternoon. If you guys want some tails or some plays to tail on PrizePicks, I'll give those out in that video. So check that video out if you are interested. But let's go ahead and talk through this slate. 10 games. We'll start off with the first game of the night, the Pacers and the Celtics. So for the Celtics, we'll start off with them. They're pretty much fully healthy coming into this game. So I don't know if there's going to be like a ton of value from Boston, but it is a pretty good matchup here against Indiana. So there's definitely some guys that I think offer some tournament appeal. I think Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown are both in pretty good matchups here. Indiana's defense has been pretty bad lately. They've been playing at a fast pace as well. So pretty good spot for Jason Tatum. It is a 10-game slate, so there's going to be a lot of pay-up options today. But I definitely think Tatum is fine to go to. I think Jaylen Brown is in play as well. But that's really it from Boston. I don't really like the guards here. I really don't ever play the guards whenever Tatum and Brown are both healthy. And then the bigs, Robert Williams is back, but he's kind of being limited. Horford feels like he's a little bit overpriced. It's a good matchup. Indiana's been a pretty good matchup for centers, and I think it's a good spot for Horford and Williams, but I just don't know if they're going to play enough. Horford in his first game back only played 21 minutes, so could he put up a good game in 22 minutes? I guess he could, but I really don't see much else on Boston to go to besides the top two guys, the Brown and Tatum. Now, on the other side with Indiana, we're going to have to monitor the status of Tyrese Haliburton. So Tyrese Haliburton questionable for this game. If Haliburton plays, I don't have a ton of interest in him in a tougher matchup against the Celtics. Haliburton, he's one of these guys that can put up a huge game in any spot. It doesn't matter who he's going up against, he can crush, but not a spot where I feel like I'm really going to go out of my way to play Haliburton. And then the rest of the Pacers, Miles Turner, Buddy Hield, these guys I'm not very interested in. I guess, if Haliburton does get ruled out, those guys become a little bit more appealing. I think the guards would definitely become appealing if Haliburton's out. So Nembhard, McConnell. Nembhard only $5,700. I think this price tag definitely too cheap for Nembhard. We've seen his role be great without Tyrese Haliburton. They're playing him big minutes right now as well. He's one of their younger guys. They're probably going to try and develop him late in the season. So I definitely think Nembhard at $5,700 looks good if Haliburton's out. I think TJ McConnell at $5,500 looks pretty solid as well if Haliburton is out. McConnell did not play a ton last game, but was still really productive. He's been pretty productive in the minutes he's played without Haliburton this season. So those two guys I definitely think are viable, and that's probably it from Indiana. I don't see a ton of interest in really anyone else here. Benedict Matherin's been starting lately. Matchup's not that great, though. The price tag feels about right. It's a 10-game slate. Don't think it's a guy I'm going to go to. So let's move on to the next game, San Antonio and Washington. So as you can see, there's a lot of questionable tags in this game. A lot of guys out as well. We'll start off on the Washington side. So for the Wizards today, no Bradley Beal, no Kyle Kuzma. We can expect a really, really big role here for Kristaps Porzingis. Great matchup against the Spurs as well. I assume if this game's competitive, we're getting big minutes from Porzingis. Now, last game, Porzingis only played 22 minutes, but that game kind of was a blowout. Plus, it was the second night of a back-to-back. I would expect full minutes from Porzingis here in a great matchup. At $9K, I think he definitely has the upside to pay off this price tag, especially playing without Beal and without Kuzma. So I really like Porzingis today. Really like Deni Avdija as well. We saw Deni Avdija start last game with those guys out. He should start again here. And Deni Avdija is a pretty good per-minute producer. He's a guy that can do a little bit of everything when he's on the floor. The minutes have been strong for him lately. The matchup is obviously great against San Antonio, so I'm definitely interested in Deni Avdija. Monte Morris was a little bit of a disappointment last game with all those guys out. He only played 25 minutes, only had 21 Draftkings points. I would expect a much better game from him here in a great matchup as well, so I don't mind going to Monte Morris for value. I think Daniel Gafford's minutes are a little bit more secure, so if you want to go to him at $4,700, don't mind that. He played 29 minutes last game. I would think he probably gets mid to high 20s minutes here. Kispert at $4,800. feels priced about right. Not a guy that offers like a really big ceiling. I definitely would rather get up to like Avia if I was going to play one of those Wizards guys. And then, the bench guys from Washington, like we did see Jordan Goodwin have a decent game last game. He played 17 minutes. I thought he played more than 17 minutes. He played 17 minutes last game, had 18 DraftKings points. He should get some run with Bradley Beal out, but I don't know if he's going to play enough to be worth rostering in DFS. DeLon Wright last game played 21 minutes. Again, don't know if he's a guy that I really want to go to. So honestly, from the Wizards, definitely Porzingis and Avia I like most here. But I think Monte Morris is a pretty good value as well. I think Daniel Gafford's playable. Probably it, though, from Washington. Now, on the other side with San Antonio, man, a lot of questionable tags on San Antonio. So I think Keldon Johnson is probable, but I think the rest of these guys are questionable. Zach Collins is questionable. I think Devin Vassell is questionable, and I think Trey Jones is questionable as well. Trey Jones is probable. So it looks like Keldon Johnson and Trey Jones are expected to play. Zach Collins, Devin Vassell, questionable, and I think Devontae Graham is probable, so he's expected to play. But man, as you can see right now, like San Antonio, I mean, they're full tank mode. They're resting a ton of guys every night. I mean, it's a tricky situation. I don't know if it's a situation I really want to be heavily invested in either. Keldon Johnson is probably going to have a big role here without, potentially if Devin Vassell's out, potentially if Zach Collins out, but price tag feels about right. Again, San Antonio, man, like they don't want to win games right now, so it's a tough spot to really get too invested in. I think if I was going to play anyone in the Spurs, I would look to like kind of the younger guys. So like if Zach Collins is out, I have no issue going to Sandro Mamukelashvili. I think Mamukelashvili would play a good amount here if there is no Zach Collins. I think he might even play like if it's a blowout too. His minutes feels pretty secure regardless of how the game is being played out. So if Zach Collins is out, I do like Mamu from San Antonio. But man, like I really don't want to be rostering a ton of Spurs today. It's just this team, I feel like they're going to run like a 10, 11-man rotation that really spread out the minutes last game. I could see them doing that a lot the rest of the season. It's clear they don't care to win games right now. So, yeah, it's just don't want to be too heavily invested in the Spurs, but we'll have to pay attention to some of these questionable tags. I think if Zach Collins gets ruled out, if Devin Vassell gets ruled out, then I could definitely see going to like a Mamukelashvili. Maybe you could go to Trey Jones. Maybe you could go to Keldon, but they feel priced, about where they should be. So that does it for that game. Let's move on to the next one, Detroit and Toronto. So we'll start off on the Toronto side. For Toronto today, really, really good matchup here against the Pistons, who have been one of the worst defensive teams in the league. Last game, Toronto was without Scotty Barnes, Gary Trent, and Precious Achiuwa. We'll have to see if those guys play today. It looks like Trent is questionable. It looks like Scotty Barnes is questionable, and I think Achiuwa is off the injury report. Where is he at? No, actually, Achiuwa is questionable. So he didn't participate in practice. He's questionable for this game. And then Gary Trent I believe, is questionable too, and I think Scotty Barnes is questionable as well. So yeah, if all these guys are out again, I mean, we're going to see Toronto run a really tight rotation. They're going to lean heavily on Pascal Siakam, Fred VanVleet. We saw Jakob Poeltl play a lot last game. OG Anunoby's going to play a lot. Obviously, the matchup's really good here, so I definitely think some of these Toronto guys do look pretty appealing. Now, if all these questionable guys play, if Scotty Barnes plays, if Gary Trent plays, if Achiuwa plays, then I'm not as interested in Toronto, but I think you could still take some shots on Siakam and Poeltl, or Siakam, VanVleet, Poeltl, and GBPs. But they would definitely look strong if those guys are out, especially like Jakob Poeltl at 7,200. We saw Poeltl play 36 minutes last game. That's the most he's played since he's been with Toronto, I'm pretty sure. And Poeltl's a great per-minute producer. He's a guy that can average well over a fantasy point per minute. The matchup against Detroit is really good, so I'm very interested in Jakob Poeltl today if all those questionable guys are out again. Wouldn't be as interested in if they all play just because I think his minute ceiling wouldn't be as high, but he would still be a viable option. OG Anunoby, I think, would be a viable option if all those guys are out again. He didn't produce that well last game, but he did play 37 minutes, and we know the minutes are going to be through the roof for him. And then, some of the bench guys and like potential value plays you could maybe look to. Like last game, Chris Boucher did play 28 minutes. He would definitely be a strong value if all those guys are out again because we know Boucher is someone that can produce when he's on the floor. He's a good per-minute producer. Will Barton did start last game, but I don't think he really did much as a starter. Played 23 minutes, but had just 10 DraftKings points. Will Barton, throughout his career, has been a decent per-minute producer. If he starts again, I think he's okay to go to for value. I don't think he would be like a slam dunk, but I think he would be playable. And that's really it from the Raptors. I don't really want to get too into anyone else here. Definitely think, though, if all these questionable guys are out again, I think Siakam, VanVleet, Poeltl all look pretty strong. I think Boucher would be a really good value. Definitely favorite play, though, from Toronto, if all those guys are out, would probably be Poeltl. I like Poeltl quite a bit at that salary. But now moving on to the Detroit side. So Detroit, kind of like San Antonio, they're another team that just, they're going to sit a lot of guys. They're sitting a lot of guys right now. They don't really care to win games. No Bojan, no Roddy McGruder, no Isaiah Stewart, no Alec Burks, no Hamidou Diallo. Isaiah Livers is, I believe, questionable, or he might be probable. So he's expected to be back for this game. I mean, Detroit, they have like plenty of guys. I mean, I think they have like 11 available players. Bagley, Ivy, Hayes, Wiseman, Duran, Livers, Kojo, Omiori, Hampton. Like, they have plenty of bodies. I think Buddy Boeheim's still available on the team. I think Jared Rhoden's still on the team. So in a matchup against Toronto, like, I really don't want to be rostering many Pistons today. Marvin Bagley had a really big game last game, played massive minutes. Bagley is one of these guys that can produce when he does get minutes, and the fact that he played 41 minutes last game is definitely encouraging. But it is worth mentioning that last game they did not have Jalen Duren, they did not have Isaiah Livers. Both those guys are going to be back today, so don't think we get 41 minutes from Bagley, but I think we'll probably get like 30 minutes. But at 7,100, you kind of need him to play like close to 40 minutes to be worth the salary. And I think the same could be said for Ivy and Hayes. It's just, yeah, this Detroit team, I don't see too much to like here. James Wiseman at 6,200, I guess you could go to. He got into some foul trouble last game, fouled out in 19 minutes. Minutes have been pretty good for him in the games he started and the games he's played with Detroit. But the price tag feels about right for this matchup. And yeah, I think that's it for Detroit. Like I said, Detroit, not a team I really want to be too heavily invested in today. So let's move on to the next game, Houston and Memphis. Starting off on the Memphis side, so Memphis in a great matchup here against the Rockets. We saw John Morant last game actually come off the bench, played pretty limited minutes, only 24 minutes. No word yet on if Ja is going to come off the bench again, if he's going to start, if he's going to be on a minutes limit. So it's really just a wait and see here with Ja. If he's coming off the bench, he's not going to be playable in DFS. But if Ja is in the starting lineup and if he is not limited, 8,900 for John Morant against the Rockets is like amazing if he's full go. I have no idea if he'll be full go. My guess is they're going to probably keep him on a limit for at least a few games until he can kind of get his feet back under him. So don't think Ja's going to be viable unless he is starting and unless he's not on a minutes limit, which, again, just we don't have that information right now. And then with John Morant back, the rest of these Memphis guys just all take a little bit of a hit. Triple J, Bane, Tyus Jones, they all take a hit. I know Tyus Jones did have a decent game last game, played 27 minutes, had 29 Draftkings points, but again, as John Morant starts to get more minutes, that's just more minutes that Tyus Jones is going to lose. So I don't think Tyus Jones is really going to be viable even if he does start again. I don't see too much to like here from Memphis, and it's a good matchup, so it's like you would want to kind of roster some guys here, but I don't know, man. With John Morant back, it's just, Triple J is going to lose usage, so is Bane, so is Tyus Jones. The bigs, like Xavier Tillman at 4,700, you could maybe go to for value, but last game you only played 19 minutes. They seem fine playing Triple J at the 5 right now. They can go small, play him at the 5. So, I don't think Xavier Tillman's, locked into big minutes here. So that's really it for Memphis. Tough team to really break down until we know, if John Morant's full go. Honestly, if John Morant is full go and if he is starting, he's my favorite play from Memphis by a long shot. Now, on the other side of this game with Houston, I don't see too much to really like on Houston either, They're playing their main guys pretty big minutes right now, even though Houston has nothing to play for. They're playing Kevin Porter Jr., Jalen Green, Şengün, Jabari Smith, 30-plus minutes. But the price tags have kind of all caught up. KPJ is 8,100. He's been playing great lately, but this price tag feels where it should be. Jalen Green's had some good games lately, but again, 7,300 feels like an appropriate price tag. Şengün at 7K, I don't mind. We've seen Memphis be a little bit more vulnerable against bigs lately. Really, ever since they lost Steven Adams and Brandon Clark, their center defense has not been that strong. And we've seen a lot of centers have good games against Memphis, so I don't mind going to Şengün. He did have a big game against them last time they played. 32 minutes, 43 Draftkings points. Price tag only went up to 7K, only went up $200. So if I had to play anyone on the Rockets today, I think Şengün would be the first guy that I would look to, but I don't like too much on Houston here. Nothing really stands out, as a core play or anything, so I think we can go ahead and move on to the next game, Charlotte and Dallas. So for Dallas today, we do know Luka's going to play here, but we don't have any update yet on Kyrie Irving. Kyrie Irving questionable for this game. Kyrie did not play last game, so we'll have to monitor his status for today. If Kyrie does play, the matchup against Charlotte's great, but I don't know if I'd really be super invested in Kyrie or Luka today where they're priced at. Luka is 12K, so he's kind of priced to his full price tag. But obviously we saw him have a great game last game without Kyrie. Put up 66 Draftkings points. He played 41 minutes in his first game back from injury, so clearly there's going to be no minutes limit on him. He's going to be full go, kind of moving forward. So I don't mind Luka if Kyrie's out, but if he plays, not super interested in either one of those guys, even in a good matchup. And then the rest of Dallas, I don't have a ton of interest in really anyone else here. I will say that it's a good matchup for Christian Wood, and we've seen Charlotte be very vulnerable against bigs this season. We've seen a lot of bigs do really well against the Hornets. So I don't mind the spot for Christian Wood. Christian Wood's minutes have been trending up lately. Last few games, 28, 34, 29, 25 minutes. I definitely would like him more if Kyrie Irving was out, but I think the matchup is so good that Christian Wood does make some sense as like a GPP dart throw. I assume his ownership will be pretty low on a big slate like this, so he's definitely viable. And that's really it from Dallas, I think. So now on the other side of this game with the Hornets, I mean, we just have no idea what the Hornets are doing today. So they had they had all their guys available for Thursday's game. It's a back-to-back for the Hornets, but Terry Rozier he got injured in Thursday's game, did not return. Kelly Oubre got injured, did not return. Dennis Smith Jr. left the second half with an illness, did not return. So the fact that Rozier, Oubre, and DSJ all did not return on Thursday after leaving the game, like, do they play today? I have no idea. I think if everyone is healthy and everyone is playing on Charlotte, there's really nothing that stands out here. At least like not as a core play. Now, sure, if you're playing like a lot of lineups, you could sprinkle in some Rozier, you could sprinkle in some Oubre, some Haywards in Washington. Even Nick Richards at 5,100, I kind of think looks solid here. He did play about 30 minutes on Thursday night, and his minutes have been kind of trending back up. The matchup against Dallas, I think, is pretty good for bigs. So, like, I don't mind Nick Richards. I don't think his role would really change. Like, even if Rozier, Oubre, all those guys are out, like, I still think Richards is going to project pretty much the same. But he should play pretty secure minutes if all those guys are out. But yeah, man, like Charlotte's just so tough to break down right now. Like who's playing for them, I have no idea. If if Rozier's out, if Oubre's out, if DSJ's out, I mean, then we have to look to like PJ Washington would be a great play. Gordon Hayward would be a great play. Some of these guards, like the bench guys, I mean, Bryce McGowan's, I guess. Like I just don't know who they would even have available. Theo Maudon, I don't think's on the team. Like I think he's in the G League. Maybe they would call him up. I don't even know if he's even with the team. So it's just a really tricky situation. We're definitely gonna have to monitor Charlotte's injury report, see who's available for them. If they have a lot of guys out, then whoever's gonna be playing, is gonna be a pretty good play. But like I said, if everyone's available for Charlotte, I don't see too much that really stands out here. And I think these guys that didn't play or that got ruled out Thursday, they could have just done that because it was a back-to-back and they wanted to have them ready for Friday. I don't know, but yeah, tricky situation there in Charlotte. We'll have to keep an eye on that. So let's go ahead and move on to the next game, Milwaukee and Utah. So for Utah today, no Lauri Markkanen, no Jordan Clarkson. Without Lauri Markkanen, without Clarkson, we can expect a really big role for Taylor Horton-Tucker, a pretty big role for Kelly Olynyk as well. We saw Kelly Olynyk have a really good game recently whenever Lauri Markkanen was out. It was this game against Sacramento, 31 minutes, 47 DK points. He definitely gets a boost here. I think the matchup, though, against Milwaukee is not great, plus this game probably has some blowout risk. I don't love these Jazz guys, but I definitely think THT, Kelly Olynyk do look like solid mid-range options, but they're kind of priced where they should be. Olynyk is 6,600, THT is 7,200. It's not like we're getting much of a discount on these guys. Chris Dunn should play a decent amount off the bench. He should be really productive in the minutes that he gets. He benefited last game, or the game against Sacramento, he benefited because THT got in foul trouble. But we've seen Dunn be really good whenever there's no Markkanen, no Clarkson, no Sexton, and that's obviously the case for tonight. All those guys are out. So I think Chris Dunn's okay at 5,500, not like a core value though. Maybe like Obaji, Simone Fontecchio we could look to. We did see Fontecchio start the last game that Markkanen was out, played 33 minutes, had 19 DraftKings points. Wasn't super productive, but the minutes were there. He's an okay value at 4,400. Obaji had a really big game last time Markkanen was out, played 33 minutes, had 42 DraftKings points. Price tag at 5,100 feels correct for today. Like I don't think Obaji was definitely a much better play when he was like 3,800 versus today 5,100. Plus the matchup against Milwaukee not nearly as good as facing Sacramento. So none of these Utah guys are like core plays today. But again, if you're playing a lot of lineups, you could sprinkle in some Obaji, some Fontecchio, Chris Dunn, Olynyk. These guys are all playable, but none of them are priority stay for me. None of them I don't think would make like my main lineup or anything. Now on the other side with Milwaukee, pretty good matchup here for Milwaukee. Utah's defense not been great. Utah playing at a fast pace as well. So guys like Giannis, Middleton, Drew, they offer upside in this matchup, but where they're priced at, Giannis 11.5, Middleton 7.6, Drew 7.2. My favorite of those guys is definitely Giannis, and that's usually always the case. Giannis is just going to play big minutes here if the game's competitive. That's the big question, though, is like, can Utah keep this game competitive? Utah right now with all these guys out, like, are they a team that's even trying to win games? Like, I think they're like the 11th seed right now. So like I don't even know if do they care to like get into the playoffs? Do they care to get into the play-in? Right now they're sitting a lot of guys. It doesn't seem like they really care to win games. I don't know. But I think as long as Utah keeps this game close, we should get like 30 minutes from Giannis, maybe more. The matchup is pretty good, so like I don't mind Giannis as a pay-up option today. He's pretty much always in play, but he's really the only guy that I like from Milwaukee. Drew and Middleton feel priced correctly. The rest of the Bucks feel priced correctly. I think that's it for that team. So let's go ahead and move on to the next game. We still got 4 more games to go over, guys. We got 4 late night games, so a lot of West Coast games on Friday night. But next game, Golden State and Philadelphia. On the Golden State side, not the greatest matchup here against the Sixers. Sixers, good defensive team. They play at a slow pace. Steph Curry, pretty tough matchup against a Sixers team that's done a really good job limiting opposing point guard production this season. But we know Steph Curry is a guy that can put up a huge game any night. Golden State's playing at home here where they have played much better this season. So I don't mind Steph as a GPP play. I think he's viable. I don't really like any other Sixers, though. This should be a fun game to watch. It should be a great game. I don't know if it's going to be a game I get too heavily invested in for DFS, but if we're talking about the Golden State side, my favorite play here is probably Steph. Don't see too much else that I'm really loving. Now, for the Sixers today, who's going to play for the Sixers? We don't really know. Joel Embiid listed as questionable for this game. He got injured in their last game, did not return. It was reported that he was expected to play, but now he's been listed as questionable. I'm assuming Embiid plays today. James Harden was out last game. He's listed as questionable for this one, so we'll have to see if James Harden plays. If Embiid plays and if Harden plays, I don't love a ton on the Sixers, but I will say the matchup against Golden State's pretty solid. Golden State's defense not been great lately. Golden State been playing at a fast pace this year as well. I think Embiid can definitely have success in this matchup, even though Golden State's done a pretty good job limiting center production. Embiid's just like playing at an elite level right now. He's dominating. It doesn't matter who he's going up against. He's just crushing against everybody. So I think Embiid right now is pretty much matchup proof and is a top pay up option every slate. Obviously, he would look even better if Harden got ruled out. And the rest of the Sixers, I'm only considering these guys if like Harden's out. So like Maxey, Harris, Melton. These guys are only viable if Harden's out. If Harden plays, I have no interest in them. By some chance, if Harden and Embiid are both out, then love Maxey, love Harris, love Melton. Whoever starts the center between Harrell and Reed would be a really good value if they were to start one of those two guys. But that's just kind of news that we don't have right now, so we're going to have to wait and see there with the Sixers. But for now, I do expect Embiid to play. I think Harden probably plays as well, especially in a big-time game like this against Golden State. But let's go ahead and move on to the next one, Phoenix and Sacramento. So for Sacramento today, really no injuries to talk about besides Kevin Huerter. Kevin Huerter listed as questionable for this game. Don't think this injury matters too much. If Kevin Huerter's out, more minutes for Keegan Murray. Keegan Murray's been pretty good lately, the games without Huerter. More secure minutes for Malik Monk, but I don't think there'd be like any slam dunk core plays coming from Sacramento if Huerter got ruled out. And obviously Sacramento, the offense kind of runs through Sabonis and Fox. Sabonis is 10,100, Fox is 8,300. I think it's a pretty good spot for Domantas Sabonis. Without DeAndre Ayton right now, Sabonis should definitely be able to have his way in this matchup. He hasn't had a ton of success against Phoenix this season. I think he did have like one good game against them. He had 56 DK points, but then when they last played, he only had 35 DK points. That was one of his poorer games of the season. But I think without DeAndre Ayton going up against like Bismack Biyombo and Jock Landale, this is a pretty good spot for Sabonis. He's a fine pay-up option, but I would definitely put him behind guys like Joel Embiid. We're going to talk about Anthony Davis in a second, who I like quite a bit. So wouldn't consider Sabonis a top spin, but he is definitely playable. Same could be said for De'Aaron Fox. I think Fox is a pretty solid mid-range play here. His price tag at 8,300 just feels too low. I know he's had some bad games lately, like struggled against Boston, struggled against Washington, struggled against Brooklyn. I don't really care. Fox is going to play 36, 37 minutes if this game's competitive. This should be one of those faster paced, higher scoring games. He didn't do that well against Phoenix last time they played, but I think the matchup is pretty good for him. I don't think Phoenix's defense is one that we really should fear. So I definitely think De'Aaron Fox is in play at 8,300. I don't really like too much else on Sacramento, though. And then on the other side with Phoenix, pretty good spot for Phoenix here. Sacramento's defense, not been that great. Sacramento also plays at a really fast pace. So I think Devin Booker, Chris Paul, both viable, solid pay-up options today, especially Booker at 9,600. We've seen Booker be priced kind of in the 10K range lately. He's not really been justifying that price tag, but the usage, the role has been great for Booker. He's playing like 40 minutes a night. He's taking 20-plus shots a night. I think the matchup against Sacramento is really good for him. I think this is a matchup he can definitely have success in. So I am interested in Devin Booker as a pay-up option here. Obviously, without Kevin Durant, without DeAndre Ayton, there's plenty of usage available for Booker. And then Chris Paul at 7,500. We've seen him be a little bit better be a little bit better lately in the games that he has played without Kevin Durant. I think without DeAndre Ayton, there's going to be even more usage available for Chris Paul. He's just fine mid-range play at 7,500. Nothing else on Phoenix though looks that great. Bismack Biyombo started the last 2 games without Ayton. He's played 20 and 26 minutes. Hasn't shown a ton of upside. The price tag's up to 4,900 now. At 4,900, I'm fine just kind of avoiding Biyombo. It's not like he's really that cheap anymore. So that's it for Phoenix. Let's go ahead and move on to the next game. Still got 2 more games to go over, guys. So Chicago and Portland. We'll start off on the Portland side. We got Damian Lillard coming in at 11K. Tough spot here for Chicago, or tough spot here for Lillard going up against Chicago, who's been a good defensive team. But Lillard's just got an unreal role right now. No Anthony Simons and no Jeremy Grant once again for the Blazers. Plus Yusuf Nurkic is questionable, so we could just see 40% usage here for Damian Lillard. Gonna play 35, 36 minutes as long as the game's competitive. It seems like the Blazers are trying to make their way into the play-in tournament. They said, reportedly, or it was reported that Dame could be shut down if the Blazers, if they can't get into the playoffs. But it seems like right now they're trying to get into the postseason. So I think we can expect Lillard to be full go, and his role is going to be great. I don't think the matchup's that good, but man, the usage he's going to have here, the assist numbers. I mean, he's just been stuffing the stat sheet lately. Minutes have been great. I definitely think Dame is a strong pay-up option at 11K. Nurkic, if he plays at 6,500, is okay, but I don't love this spot against Chicago. We have seen Nurkic's minutes trend up lately, though, and he did play 31 minutes last game. He's obviously going to be kind of like the number 2 option on offense without Grant, without Simon. So if Nurkic is playing, I think he's okay at 6,500. Not a priority, though. Trenton Watford continues to play big minutes with Jeremy Grant out. Started last game, played 35 minutes, had 45 Draftkings points. His price tag is up to 6K, so I think at 6K, I'm kind of fine, backing off of Wofford here, but I still think he's playable. And then we saw Shaedon Sharpe start last game, and Shaedon Sharpe was amazing. He played 40 minutes, had 49 Draftkings points, 24 points, 9 rebounds, 3 assists, 4 steals. I mean, Shaedon Sharpe, we've seen him start before and be not very good, but last game he was really good. The minutes were great. The price tag obviously has adjusted now. He's 5,400, but assuming Shaedon Sharpe does start again, it seems like the Blazers are trying to give him minutes right now. It seems like they want to see what they have in him. So I think if Shaedon Sharpe is starting, he is someone that I think is in play at 5,400. Wish he was a little bit cheaper, but I think he's still viable. And then the rest of the Blazers, like Cam Reddish, came off the bench last game, wasn't very productive. Not a ton of interest in him. Thibault on a 10-game slate, I'm fine passing on. It's really just like Dame, Nurkic, and then probably Sharpe. Will mention that if Nurkic gets ruled out, that's even better for Trenton Watford, and that would obviously bring Drew Eubanks into play as well. Drew Eubanks, in the games that he has started this season for Nurkic, he's not been that great, but we have seen Eubanks have good games in the past when he has started and when he's gotten minutes. I think at 3,400, Eubanks would be a playable value if Nurkic did get ruled out. Unfortunately, we have a lot of 10 o'clock games tonight, so I have a feeling this could be one of those slates where we're gonna be waiting after lock for some news. But if that news does come, before lock, I definitely think you could go to Eubanks as a value play. Or if it comes after lock, you could potentially swap to Eubanks. Now on the other side with Chicago, so for the Bulls today, some big news to monitor here is the status of DeMar DeRozan. Listed as questionable for this game. Pretty good matchup here for these Bulls guys going up against Portland. So I think if DeRozan is out, definitely like Zach LaVine, definitely like Nikola Vucevic. Both those guys would get a big boost here if there's no DeRozan. The offense would really run through LaVine and Vuce. So I would be interested in both of them if DeRozan's out. If DeRozan plays, I don't think there's any priorities coming from Chicago, but you could still go to LaVine in tournaments. You could still go to DeRozan in tournaments or Vuce in tournaments. I think because the matchup is so good against Portland, it's pretty likely that somebody does well here from Chicago. But a lot of my interest would come on this side if DeRozan got ruled out. And then if DeRozan does get ruled out, you would see probably more minutes for Patrick Williams, maybe for Kobe White. Patrick Williams is somewhat cheap at 4,600. I think he'd be an okay value if DeRozan got ruled out. A guy like Kobe White could be a playable value. It's probably it from Chicago, though. Really, if DeRozan's out, we're going to be looking to Vuce and LaVine first. Those are going to be the 2 guys that obviously get the biggest bump, and the offense is going to really be run through those 2 guys. But I think that's it for Chicago. Kind of a wait and see now with DeRozan's status. Don't think there's any priorities coming from Chicago if everyone's in, but if DeRozan does get ruled out, like both those guys quite a bit. Now, the last game of the night, the Lakers and the Thunder. We'll start off on the Lakers side where we have Anthony Davis coming in at 10,500. Really like this spot for Anthony Davis going up against OKC. Now, we saw last time these teams played, I'm pretty sure Davis had a pretty disappointing game. I think LeBron, that was the game that LeBron broke the record. So, I think LeBron played in that game. But The matchup is so good here. We've seen AD, do well against teams like OKC that, are kind of like undersized and can't really, stop him in the paint. And this feels like one of those spots. I know Anthony Davis has not been that great lately in terms of like fantasy points, 45, 41, 47 DraftKings points. That's not really getting it done at his price tag. This feels like one of those games where we could get like a big, 30 points, 15 rebounds, 3-4 blocks type of game from Anthony Davis. I think, 60, 70 DraftKings points is definitely in his range of outcomes in this matchup against OKC. So I definitely like Anthony Davis as a pay-up option today. And then the rest of the Lakers, I mean, we're seeing, Austin Reeves play great lately. He moved into the starting lineup last game, played 39 minutes, put up 49 DraftKings points. It's a tough situation because Reeves, all season, he's not really been a guy that's putting up, he's never a guy you would expect to put up 40, 50 DraftKings points a night. But the way he's been playing lately, how much he's driving to the basket, how much, he's drawing fouls, getting to the free throw line. I mean, he's been playing like an elite player lately. Is he worth 6,800? Probably not. Like, I think more times than not, he's going to disappoint at this price tag. But if you want to just ride the heater and keep playing Reeves because he's playing so well, I mean, I don't hate it. He should start again. He should play a ton of minutes. But I think the price tag has gotten caught up to where it should be. And then D'Angelo Russell, he should continue to have a big role while LeBron's out. Hasn't shown like a massive ceiling, but he's been pretty consistent. I think the matchup against OKC is fine. I don't mind going to Russell here, but my favorite play by far from the Lakers today is Anthony Davis. And then the rest of the Lakers, like Schroeder and Beasley and Vanderbilt, I don't think I'm going to go to these guys on a 10-game slate. Now, on the other side with OKC, it's a pretty good matchup for OKC. And I should have mentioned, this is a really important game for like playoff position. Both these teams are fighting for playoff position in the West. So this should be a game that you should see pretty tight rotations. As long as this game's competitive, you could see a lot of minutes for kind of the main guys here. It is a back-to-back for OKC, so we'll have to monitor their injury report. But if SGA is playing today, I think at 10K, he looks like a really strong pay-up option. I think this matchup's really good for him. He didn't do that great against the Lakers earlier this season, but we've seen the Lakers give up big games to guards this season. I'm pretty sure they're allowing like the third or fourth most fantasy points to point guards this year. So definitely like SGA as a pay-up option today. He's for sure in play for GBPs. The rest of OKC, though, like Giddey and Dort and Jalen Williams, not a ton of interest in these guys. They're just kind of like some GBP dart throws. This should be a great game environment. It should be a fast-paced game. Should be a high-scoring game. So you could go to those guys in GBPs, but I wouldn't consider them like core plays or anything. Don't think there's anything else that stands out from OKC. It's really SGA that I have the most interest in. Assuming he plays today. It is a back-to-back, so again, we'll have to monitor OKC's injury report. But that'll do it for that game, guys. That'll do it for this big 10-game Friday night slate. I hope you guys did enjoy this video. I hope it did help. Again, this was a tough slate to break down because there's so many questionable tags today. So many guys, so many guys' status are up in the air right now. This is definitely going to be a different slate from the time I record this video till lock. I mean, obviously things are going to change with so many guys questionable right now. But it should be a fun slate. A lot of games. I'm sure hopefully somebody will be able to make some money in here. Hopefully these videos help you guys and we can all win some money tonight. But I do wish you guys the best of luck on this slate. Hope you guys did enjoy the video. Make sure you hit that like button down below before you do get out of here. Hit that subscribe button if you have not yet. And also, go check out PrizePicks, sponsor of the video. You guys can sign up for PrizePicks. You can use my promo code NOAH. When you sign up, you'll get your first deposit matched up to $100. When you do sign up for PrizePicks, check them out. If you guys have not yet, make sure to use that promo code as well. But good luck tonight, guys. Thanks for watching the video. Hope you guys all enjoy your Friday night, enjoy your weekend, and we'll see you in the next one. Peace.